think I figured out how to fix the stuck piston on my M1 Carbine. But before we get into that, I just wanted to share an interesting story that happened with this carbine. If you watched my previous unboxing or tabletop reviews, you may remember that this carbine had the name Joe carved into the fore end and the word Cherry carved into the buttstock. So a viewer named 11 Old Patch Googled Joe Cherry and found out there was actually a guy named Joseph Cherry who was a combat engineer in World War II in the European theater, I believe. He also had a link to Joe Cherry's obituary. So using that and doing a little searching on Facebook, I was able to find his grandson Brian. So I talked to him a little bit, and he was excited to hear that I had found his grandfather's carbine. He still had his grandfather's uniform and some other mementos from his time in the army. So since I was planning on replacing the stock anyway, I sent the stock to the guy's grandson Brian. So I thought it was pretty cool that I could help reunite somebody with a little piece of family history like that. So now I'll take the camera closer, get a little better look at what I've done to the gas block, and we'll find out together if that will actually fix this stuck piston. Okay, so here is a close-up of the gas cylinder. As you can see, I've had went to the machine shop and had him drill a 3/32 hole all the way through the gas cylinder, and it just barely clips the retaining nut. So the idea here was, this has already been staked a couple times, so I didn't want to try and take off the retaining nut and remove the piston and then have to restake it and find a clean spot. So by drilling that hole, I can take out the retaining nut and piston, clean out the gas cylinder, hopefully that'll free up the piston. Then I can reinstall the piston and nut and then just put a pin through that hole, and that'll hold everything together. And then I can just drive out that pin and take out the piston and retaining nut as often as you need in case the gas cylinder gets fouled up again. So in theory, I've made the gas cylinder serviceable now instead of being a closed system. So now I just have to, I just got this back from the machine shop today. So I'll put the camera back on the tripod, get out my wrench, and see if this retaining nut will come out. Okay, so the retaining nut is your fairly standard threaded affair, so it's just, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So just get the teeth of the nut removal tool lined up and see if this comes off. It's being pretty stubborn. Probably because I'm turning it the wrong way. There we go, other left. There it goes. So yeah, that initial resistance is just breaking through the staking that was done to hold the nut in place. Now it's still pretty stiff, so just residual tension from the staking, or if it's just because this whole assembly is just so gummed up with whatever's in there. One of the guys at the machine shop also happened to be a military surplus collector, and he did mention that a tip for M1 carbines is to always make sure you clean them upside down, so that, you know, excess solvent and fouling and all that stuff doesn't drain into the gas cylinder, which is, you know, on the bottom of the barrel. So if you turn it upside down, it'll put that gas port on the top, so all your solvent and fouling and stuff will drain away from it if you have the rifle upside down. Alright, so I won't make you sit here and watch as I struggle with this, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, took some fighting, but I just dumped a bunch of M Pro 7 cleaner down in the gas cylinder. Let that sit for a little bit, and I wrap my pliers. A little bit of, it's not duct tape, they call it gaff tape. They use it a lot in theater and film because it doesn't leave a residue behind, but it also has a texture on the back of the tape. So I wrap my pliers in that, both to keep from scratching up the piston, and also so the texture on the tape and combined with a little bit of the softness of the tape helped, hopefully helped grab the piston a little better. So between the pliers and soaking in the gun cleaner, I don't really see that, but yeah, it is covered in just this black tarry stuff. But it finally popped out. So I will clean that off. Okay, so I've gotten it cleaned up as best I can. So here's the retaining nut. It's got a little bit of a step, so I think it might be a Type 2. But I cleaned that out pretty good. That was pretty nasty. Here's a nice shiny piston. It's got some scratch marks, scoring kind of along the top edge here. Probably about where it comes out of the retaining nut. So, but overall, it's not too bad. The face is still got a little bit of very, very minor pitting. I just couldn't clean out every little nook and cranny of it, but otherwise it's in good shape. Then for the gas block, I have got a set of airbrush cleaning brushes, which worked very nicely. Had the smallest one, and this little hole on the outside is left over from when they drilled the gas port. So you can stick the airbrush cleaning brush through that hole. You gotta kind of fidgeting around with it a little bit, but there we go. You can fit it into the gas port all the way through to the barrel and pull it out, and was able to clean out the gas port that way. Then just pull some patches down the barrel like usual, and I think I've cleaned this about as best I can. Next step is just get everything reassembled, and I will try to do that in just a second. Okay, so got everything back together. It was a little rough at first. The piston still kind of got stuck, so I had to kind of just take it in and out a couple times by hand. Then it seemed to smooth out, so I'm not sure what that was. And then putting the retaining nut back in was fairly gritty using the wrench. So I don't know if there's just still junk in there. There's a little burr from where I drilled, from where the hole was drilled in it. Or just the threads are just kind of dirty. Anyway, so there is the 3/32 pin in there. It's a stainless steel 316 pin, solid pin. I'm gonna go with a solid pin for now. I also have a couple of spring pins. The pin is a little bit shorter. I think it's a 3/4 of an inch, and the gas block is just a tiny bit wider, so it sits completely under both sides of the gas block. But there it goes. Piston slides in and out now. So it seems like everything is working, at least by hand, and just, gravity drop with a little thump assist, it comes out. So last test is to put everything back together and put a couple rounds through it and make sure everything functions correctly. So hopefully that will go well, and I will not suffer any catastrophic failures of the gun and or, my limbs. And I don't know if you can tell that pin, the bottom, or I guess it would be the topmost edge of the pin, is still even with the edge of the barrel, if not a little bit higher. So it's definitely hasn't reduced the thickness of the barrel by any means, and it hasn't come even close to cutting into the bore itself. I made sure of that. I had a little test section of barrel that I bought. It was just a little scrap of barrel, about 8 inches long, that I did a test drill on before I did this on the actual rifle. And then, as you saw on the retaining pin, it just barely made a little groove in the retaining pin. And I did take it to a gunsmith, and he looked at the test piece that I had drilled, and he didn't think there would be any problems with it. So I do not anticipate there being any problems either, but you never know. So hopefully I'll be able to get to the range sometime after the holidays and test this out.